Hello, and welcome to this special Q&A video with Andromedan contactee Alex Collier. In today's video, we're sharing an exclusive sneak peek from the latest webinar's question and answer session. If you'd like to dive deeper and watch the full webinar replay, it's available for just $6.99 over at alexcollier.tv, exclusively for our community of truth seekers. Before we get started, we'd be so grateful if you could like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell icon to get notified of all new videos. Your support helps spread Alex's messages from the Andromedans to more people around the world. And don't forget to leave a comment below. Whether it's your thoughts, a question, or even just an emoji, every comment counts, and we read them all. Your feedback and engagement really make a difference. If you'd like to show a little extra support, consider clicking the Super Thanks button, the heart with a $sign, to give a tip. Every bit helps us continue to bring you more content from Alex Collier. Now, let's get into this special Q&A with Alex.
What is your take on the Trump administration strategy behind releasing the UFO files right after the first part of the Epstein file release? Is there any connection possible between both?
Jeremy, I don't know. I don't know what the Trump administration's plan is or how it's going to roll out exactly. It could be bits and pieces, and then all of a sudden, my concern is, and I read somewhere that Blackfold, which was a site, an internet site that a young man had put together, and he had acquired a profound amount of video data and freedom of information articles and documents, and he had acquired all this and spent decades putting it together. That I read somewhere that someone had logged in and completely deleted everything, all of his documentation that he had. Black Vault, it's called. And that he had not done it himself. And it was just all gone. I mean, they didn't even download it. They just delete. It was all gone. So I don't know how to answer that question. I would want it to be smooth. I would want it to be consistent. And I would want every disclosure to elevate our consciousness and our knowledge of what's been going on around us. I would not want it to create fear, generate fear. Although, with positive stuff, we're also going to have to learn the negative stuff. All of that information at some point has to come out. The problem I have is that, are the bureaucrats going to let it out? People that have absolutely no experience with this, people who have poo-pooed it forever, who have suppressed and attacked other people for even talking about it, are they now going to be in charge of releasing this information? It's just... I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know what it's going to look like. Is it going to be like the Epstein? You're going to have to wait 5-6 years to get a real document out of them that's not been blacked out. I don't know. The governments of the world, not necessarily the present administrations, but nonetheless the governments of the world, and I include the Vatican in this statement, they have done so much shit that they have a lot to answer for. And if they're the ones in charge of releasing this information, I don't know how much of it we're going to get. I don't. which is why I've always advocating for the Star Alliance just showing up or being announced ahead of time, showing up, presenting themselves, introductions, of course, both sides doing introductions, and we get through the formalities, giving them permission to visit here, to be here, even though that's already been done, but I mean, there are formalities. And them sharing what they know about us, about our history, who we are, who we aren't. And, the benefit of multiple races doing the same thing is that we will learn different perspectives. And somewhere in the middle of all those different perspectives, we can probably find a place where we fit in, where we can consolidate that information, that knowledge, and put it together and begin the process of what would work for us, and then we can begin the process then of rebuilding our civilization into a Star Trek type of future. It's all going to take steps, but there is a certain amount of our present civilization and structure that has to go away. It just has to be done with, because it has not served us at all. In fact, its intention was to suppress and enslave. And those systems have to be the first to go. They do. So I don't know how this is going to work yet. I've not been read into it. I've been still trying to wake up people even after all this time. I'd like another mission. I'd like to do something a little different. I haven't been given that yet.
Maybe not. Alex, thanks a lot for your public intervention earlier this week about what really happened during the GSIC Skywatch in Denver in September 24. What could or will make the disclosure community unite again? And how deep is the community infiltrated by three-letter agencies? Thanks for your insights, Jeremy.
Well, the disclosure exopolitics community has been infiltrated from the very beginning. They were shamed. They were outcasted. That went on for quite some time. And then it just became so big that they were very, very specific in who they were targeting. And for a while there, it was our own agencies, whether it was Safari, the Dark Space Force, or others working with Greys and reptilians, or even some Nordics. It was dual purpose. They were doing what they were doing, but they were also intentionally hurting and harming someone, traumatizing them so it would generate fear. And, it was the Zeta Reticuli that started a very positive intervention based on what the Greys were doing. And that was because they took responsibility and decided to shift and took responsibility for what some of their own culture had done. Even though they were from a different star system, they knew they were regressive. And so the Zeta Reticuli from Zeta 1 would come in, and then they would do things to heal the process or do something very, very positive. So there was a contrast, and that came out very clearly for a while. And then I don't know if the program is continuing to this day or not, but they were one of the first that I'm aware of that were doing that. But there's been intervention and mentoring of sorts all along. It just hasn't been on the scale that it is now. And that's because they did not want to have a war amongst us. And I totally understand that, and it should make sense to everybody else as well. This thing has been in process for quite some time. But what they needed to do, and the A's have talked about monitoring our chains of thoughts. And what that does is that teaches them the maturity level of our consciousness, where it is. Well, believe it or not, with many of the souls coming in, our consciousness has been rising steadily. And even if the children didn't necessarily know it because they weren't triggered yet, they came in as souls trying to fit in, trying to adapt from a higher dimensional realm into third density, into a system that is completely full of contradictions, which is, of course, not where they came from originally. So there was always a period of adapting to the planet, to the parents, to the structure, the system they were born into. Some kids woke up pretty quick. Others, they weren't triggered yet. But nonetheless, they were targeted because of their frequency, their consciousness. And I don't exactly know how that was done. I don't know. I didn't want to wander too far from the question, but I sort of did, I guess. And I know I'm not the only one who does this, but sometimes our heads are so full of information and knowledge that we use any excuse to get it out, just to say it. Because it gets all bottled up inside, and we just don't. Sometimes it's really, really hard to contain it, but sometimes there's never a time and a place to actually share some of this type of information, because people look at you like, who aren't awake, they roll their eyes, or they do this, or they make the sign of the cross, stay away, all these crazy things.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying today's video. Want to stay up to date with all the latest news from Alex Collier? Don't miss out. Sign up for his free email newsletter at alexcollier.news and be the first to know about his live webinars, new revelations, and exclusive insights. It's quick and easy, and you'll never miss an important update. Just click the link in the description or head to alexcollier.news to sign up now. And now back to our regular scheduled content.
If you had the chance to redo any part of the last 40 years, what would you focus on? Thank you. Much love.
If I chose not to speak ever, to go public, to become a conspiracy theorist, or to acknowledge that I was a contactee, I probably would have wanted to be a teacher. Would have wanted to become a teacher. And a history teacher. But because I was one of the 4 that the A's originally talked to, and I was the only one who was willing to step forward. If I had not, then no one would have known about the A's. At least I think that's how it's been expressed to me, that they probably would have just loved us from a distance. And I have to tell you honestly, I felt an obligation. I felt a responsibility to do this when I found out the others would not. And I was told why they wouldn't do it, and I totally understood exactly why they didn't do it. It was because of family and fear of ridicule and fear of government. I totally get that. My dad was terrified when I told him I was going to do this. And of course, my dad knew stuff. You know, he had participated, and I've shared those stories with you on the webinars in the past. He was terrified of what was going to happen to me or to the family. So I don't know. I haven't contemplated that. What would I have done differently in 40 years? If I didn't speak at all and never said a word, I would have become a history teacher. But since I did speak, no, it's been survival. In many respects, it's been survival. Because even though I had good jobs, the minute they found out I was talking about aliens, I was gone. You know, I got fired from jobs here in Colorado, which is an at-will state, just because the owner of the company heard me on an Art Bell show, a replay of an Art Bell show, coming home from a ski resort, and I had written millions of dollars worth of business in 5-6 months. And he just, we don't want your kind here. You're gone. And there was nothing I could do about it. So, I mean, I have situations here where I live. Someone saw a TikTok that somebody put up, not me, put up me speaking, and they called me on it at the dog park of all places. And it's gotten around, and now people that I used to talk to don't talk to me anymore. They're polite, just say hello, but it never goes beyond that, and I know that's what it is. So, because I had one just look at me and go, "Aliens, really?" And I'm like, "You have no fucking clue." And what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? Some of my kids are embarrassed that I even talk about this stuff. It's just, you know, there is absolutely nothing glamorous about this whatsoever. It is a very, very difficult walk in the park. It really is. Because there's no middle ground. You're either open to it or you're not. So, I don't know. I mean, if I had to do it over again, and I have said this in the past, I probably wouldn't open my mouth. But I say that now, but, you know, at the time when I made the decision to start talking, I really felt like I had a responsibility to do it because nobody else would. And, you know, the A's are awesome beings. They are absolutely the most awesome beings I could possibly imagine. You know, I would want humanity to emulate them in so many ways. And I say so many ways because I don't know everything about them yet. But what I do know is like just awesome. Just awesome. Solid. They get it. You know, they take care of business. They keep it real. They give it to you straight. Those are all positive things, very, very positive things. And I've used some of those things that I've learned from them and seen from them in my everyday life, and it hasn't always been easy either. You know, sometimes people just don't want you to be straight with them. They want you to blow sunshine up their ass. You know, I don't get on my knee to blow sunshine up anybody's ass. That is not who I am. I wouldn't even want somebody to do it to me. So, it's been interesting. It's been a really interesting journey. I probably would want to answer the question definitively. If I had to do it over again, I don't think that I would have. I don't. But the A's are out of the bottle now. So instead of the genie, it's the A's. And it is what it is. You know, and it'd have been an easier ride not to talk about it. But then again, I wouldn't be who I am today had I not spoken about them. You know, I don't know. Maybe one day I'll have some time where I can, you know, really look back at everything objectively. But it's hard to do that because we're all in survival here. Every single day we're in survival. You know, having to pay to live on a planet we were born on. So, all right, next question.
Well, just hanging on.
I talk way past the close on that, and I apologize.
All right, no, that's okay. On that point, about 15 years ago, when Rebecca and I did a couple of interviews with you,
Rebecca
said,
Jernigan?
Yeah,
Rebecca Jernigan.
Yeah, sorry, not Lady Bex, but Rebecca Jernigan. You said that if you had the chance to do it over again, you'd just be a writer. You'd write stories, and you know, Captain Dinar and things like that. Do you think you would have still stuck by that, or you wouldn't do it at all?
No, I have. I have Captain Dinar. In fact, it's right there. It's right there. I pulled it out to reread it and go through it again. And The Adventures of Captain Dinar, Denar, is technically it's about the A's. It's things that their civilization, their ancestors discovered in their travels, things that have been shared with me. And I thought that that I would start with writing a children's story, and it's about their adventures of things that have happened in their system and in their space travels. And many of the characters are very much Morne Faceus and the crew, his crew. Names have been changed to protect the guilty, and but it's real things that have happened to them. Some of that I think I've shared in previous webinars. And it ultimately ends up with them taking a journey into this cloud, this black cloud, seeking something, a device of some sort. And because this device could heal planets and restore stars, and what they wanted to do was to see if they could make a replicant of this device and take it home and restore atmospheres of dying planets so that civilizations don't perish, to light up stars so that uh, solar systems become habitable again. And what happens is they go into this cloud, and it's quite the adventure getting in. And when they get in there, they discover in the center of this cloud there's a planet, very different, with a very ancient city there, and it's an ancient city that was once the residence of the Patal. And there's this whole thing that goes on, but what's really interesting is what they finally realize once they're in this cloud, that they left their density, and once they pass through this cloud and they're in the city, they're now in fourth density. So they jumped a dimension and didn't realize it until just about they're ready to leave. When they have this device, it's called Brain. He floats around. He's like this genius. He's like an AI genius, but he's got emotions and compassion. He has this device has the brain of a real scientist. And this is the part of him that they kept alive. And he has all this knowledge, and he figures stuff out. And he's the one who figures it out. And the story ends where they're coming back out of the cloud to return back into third density. And I have the outline for book 2 and book 3. I just haven't had time to work on it. But it's interesting. I had a lot of fun writing it. I did. And I figured I'd start with kids because I don't know how good of a writer I am. But it needs to be edited and stuff like that. But it has a lot of knowledge. It has a lot of their information. Some information that isn't in this is in the story. So I thought, well, and I remember saying that to you guys, that, maybe I would just write these children's books and put out the information that way. But I realized the folly of that because kids don't read books anymore. Everything's phone or an iPad or video games. So I don't know how successful that would have been either.
Well, you could always write the book, and there are many people who are now they're using AI to make cartoons really quickly.
Animation,
yeah, animations that happen in a day. Because, for instance, they could take like what you described, what you just said. They would clip that and then make an animation out of that with your voice overlaying that. I can, there's a person called Fleet who's doing that with the Candace Owen stuff. It's just brilliant. So you never know, Alex. I mean, why not just?
I would certainly be open to that, but maybe that's something I'll talk to James about offline.
Do it as a podcast or something like that. Just tell the story as if you were telling a bunch of kids. It might not take as long as you might think.
Here it is.
Remember where you heard it first, kids.
Here it is. The title of the book is called The Dragonfly, because the Dragonfly were a name we used for our ships during the Black League. We referred to them as dragonflies because of how they moved, and how you could clamp down the wings and hide them almost anywhere. And which is why Orion ships would pass us, and we could just be sitting on a rock, on a meteor, or just look like a boulder floating in space. And as long as our systems were shut down, they would not see anything. They wouldn't pick it up at all because, their ships are so big, and we were considered insignificant until we came up from behind them and blew out their propulsion systems. Then they got really pissed off.
That's awesome. I don't know if you've seen a sci-fi show. You should run all this stuff by me. There's a sci-fi show called Lex, where their ship is a dragonfly.
Oh, I didn't know that. What is it called? Lex?
Lexx. It's Australian. It's super weird.
Interesting.
It's very weird. But it's their ship is a dragonfly, and they got all kinds of robots. And did you say there was a character, or there was an AI called Brain?
Yeah.
One of
I wrote this. I wrote this in the '80s. I wrote this in the '80s.
All right, that's so weird because my friend with the plaster and everything, he's just experimenting with AI. He's just created a computer system that he's called the Brain.
Interesting.
Interesting.
That's so much fun, isn't it? Yeah.
Isn't it? Life is so interconnected.
Thank you so much for watching today's question and answer video. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell icon to stay updated on new videos. Your support truly helps us spread Alex's messages from the Andromedans and reach more people. For those interested in the complete experience, remember that the full webinar replay is available for just $6.99 at alexcollier.tv. This is where you'll find Alex's in-depth insights and answers to more questions from our community. We'd also love to hear from you. Leave a comment or drop an emoji below. We read every single comment, and your engagement really means a lot to us. To keep up with the latest from Alex Collier, you can visit alexcollier.org for more about his work, alexcollier.news to sign up for our email newsletter with the latest updates and exclusive content, and alexcollier.live for the most recent news and info. And don't miss our full library of over 250 past webinars on alexcollier.tv. Thanks again for supporting the work of Alex Collier. Your support makes it all possible, and we're truly grateful for each and every one of you. See you next time. If you would like to see the Andromedan contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we hold a live online seminar every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on upcoming live webinars, please visit alexcollier.org.